An unusual mirror, an exhibit at the British Museum. It is nearly impossible to see your own reflection in it. This item was used for magical rituals and belonged to John Dee. The son of cloth merchants, he made a brilliant career at court and became the personal astrologer to Elizabeth I. In those times, the attitude towards astrology was entirely different from today. It was believed that everything in the sublunary world was governed by celestial bodies and stars. Therefore, by knowing the laws of the movement of celestial bodies, one could predict a person's fate or even influence it. Thus, every major ruler considered it extremely desirable to have court astrologers and alchemists who could help manage the surrounding world. The English queen greatly trusted her astrologer. There were even rumors that they were lovers, although Elizabeth was known as a virgin. Later, after studying their correspondence, historians found a more substantiated explanation for why the ruler communicated so closely with Mr. Dee. He not only drew up natal charts for her, but also reports on what the courtiers whispered behind Elizabeth's back. He signed his messages with the numbers 007. The 2 zeros meant that the letter was intended only for the Queen's eyes, and the 7 was considered his lucky number by the 16th-century James Bond. John Dee is undoubtedly a significant and well-known figure in English history. His name is shrouded in mystery, and he is credited with many important political events of that era. It was John Dee who convinced Elizabeth that England should become a colonial power. At his instigation, the Queen equipped the first expeditions to the New World, and British settlements appeared in what is now North Carolina. There is also a legend that the court magician's spells in 1588 caused a storm in the North Atlantic, helping the English defeat the Spanish Armada. In reality, John Dee used his knowledge of meteorology rather than charms. He was a very educated man for his time. Dee understood that a storm was approaching, and after a successful naval battle between the British and the Spanish fleet, asked the Queen to order not to pursue the enemy. As a result, the elements destroyed dozens of enemy ships off the west coast of Ireland. In addition to astrology, John Dee is known for compiling navigational tables and even outlining a strategy for England to become the ruler of the seas by focusing on a strong navy. He also actively studied celestial bodies and mathematics. The erudites of the Middle Ages rarely focused on a single field of knowledge. They were interested in everything, both classical sciences and esotericism. John Dee studied the laws of mechanics and tried to create the philosopher's stone with equal fervor. He was passionate about cartography and made prophecies, claiming to hear the voices of angels in his dreams. He wrote the book Hieroglyphic Monad, in which he encrypted secret knowledge using special alchemical symbols. It can be said that this book by John Dee is a kind of Kabbalah. John Dee cherished his black magical mirror and kept it in a special case with soft lining. These precautions were not accidental. The magical artifact is made of a very fragile material, obsidian. Obsidian is also known as volcanic glass. It forms when lava with a high CO2 content cools very rapidly, either in water or in air. Due to this rapid cooling, it does not have time to crystallize, resulting in a homogeneous crystalline mass. Obsidian deposits are rare in Europe. Apparently, the magical mirror traveled a long way before ending up in the hands of the personal astrologer to the English Queen. In 2021, scientists from the University of Manchester conducted a geochemical analysis of the artifact and determined its origin. Each lava has a general composition, including silica and other substances. However, there are also microelements unique to each location. By taking a sample of obsidian from an artifact and conducting a chemical analysis and comparing it with obsidian from different deposits and quarries, one can determine the exact origin of the artifact. Specialists found that John Dee's mirror originated from Mexico. The volcanic glass for it was mined from a deposit near the modern city of Pachuca, and Aztec craftsmen made the artifact. The Aztecs were a major civilization in pre-Columbian America, known both as warriors and for their practice of human sacrifice. These Mesoamerican Indians are considered by scholars to be perhaps the most bloodthirsty among the indigenous peoples of the New World. While their southern neighbors, the Maya, sacrificed humans to the gods only in exceptional cases, such as during severe droughts or epidemics, the Aztecs performed such rituals constantly. Depending on the position of the stars in the sky at different times of the year, they conducted human sacrifices accompanied by cannibalism. For each new Aztec ruler, it was mandatory to raid neighboring tribes to capture prisoners for subsequent human sacrifices. When foreign captives ran out, the Aztecs chose victims from among their own people, preferring the elderly and sick who were a burden to the rest of the tribe. During the ritual, the condemned, along with the priests, ascended a stone pyramid. Amid songs and dances, the priests opened the victim's chest, removed the heart, and sprinkled the blood on the idols of the gods. For this superstitious rite, the priests used tools made of obsidian. If one learns to work with obsidian and sharpen it very finely, it can function as an extremely sharp knife. The Aztecs made not only cutting tools from volcanic glass, but also many obsidian mirrors. These were carefully polished, a process that historians say could take up to 6 months. Many were set in wooden frames adorned with gemstones, shells, and figurines of gods. This led scholars to believe that these artifacts were used not by Aztec beauties to admire their reflections, but by local priests. The Aztecs had a deity named Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, adorned with obsidian mirrors. It was believed that with the help of an obsidian mirror, one could capture evil spirits or influence them, engaging in magic. In the early 16th century, the Aztec Empire was conquered and plundered by the Spanish. Europeans viewed the traditions of the indigenous peoples of the New World with a mix of revulsion and genuine interest. A striking example is the story of the Indian princess Pocahontas, based on real events. In 1607, Indians captured the English navigator John Smith, the founder of the British colony of Jamestown. The foreigner was to be executed, but he was saved by the young daughter of the chief. Later, Pocahontas married one of the settlers and even traveled with her husband to England, where she was presented at court. Later, a cartoon was made based on the Indian woman's journey to England. The English and Europeans in general were very interested in Indian culture. Everything about the Indians fascinated them, and many mysterious stories were associated with them, including those related to spiritualism, which gradually became very popular in Europe. Likely the curious John Dee also tried to summon the spirits of the dead from the other world and used the Aztec mirror for this purpose. According to one version, he bought this rare item from an English diplomat, Sir William Pickering. After John Dee's death, the mirror passed to the famous English writer and politician Horace Walpole. Horace Walpole was also the founder of the Gothic novel in English literature, and John Dee's attributes, particularly the obsidian mirror, inspired Horace Walpole's creativity. However, Horace Walpole became the owner of the magical mirror a century and a half after John Dee's death. Where was the Aztec artifact all this time? Possibly with John Dee's son, Arthur Dee, who followed in his father's footsteps but was more interested in medicine. Incidentally, Dee Jr. left his mark on Russian history. In the early 1620s, by order of the English King James, he moved to Moscow, received the new name Artemy Ivanovich Dee, and became the personal physician to Mikhail Fyodorovich, the first Tsar of the Romanov dynasty.